Hello, welcome to the Fair Roundtable. As we say before, in the first one, this is very important, the REINA, the Rural European Innovation Area, is very important, the work they're doing with what we call the España vaciada, the empty Spain, because it's the rural innovation ecosystem, and they want to implement the specific measures we need to bring technology to not only to Madrid and to Barcelona, but the rest of Spain. I invite you, as we said before, to go to reina.startupole.eu, and you can find a lot of events they're doing on the platform, the pan-European platform, and things like the Startup Village. Now, the roundtable. In this work they're doing, is very important the role of the corporates. So they're going to talk about how corporates are supporting the startup villages. We got Valerio Ottati, is the EU Public Affairs Director and leader of the European Engagement Team, the Huawei. We got Estela Vilches, as Head of Innovation and New Technologies of Enagas Emprende. It's a company like Iberdrola, we have Iberdrola too. Oscar Cantalero, Investment Manager of Iberdrola, and Vanessa Tierney from Ireland, who's going to talk about this thing and about the company Abudu. It's a really nice startup. And the moderator is Tomas Sutic, he's member of the Cabinet of the Vice President Suica of the European Commission. So, welcome, Tomas.
Thanks a lot, and hello to everybody. As mentioned, I'm Tomas Sutic. I'm a member of the Cabinet of Vice President of the European Commission, and I'm happy to moderate our discussion today. The discussion will be on how corporate are supporting startup villages. It's a unique opportunity for me to be one who is asking questions. Typically, if you work for the European Commission, it's always people who are asking you questions. So I'm quite happy to be in this moderating role. Also, it's my first day after a long holiday. For first working day is not bad to be here with all of you celebrating the work of the Startup Ole. So happy to share this moment with you. Now, we have a panel of great companies with us, companies that are already doing great work for our rural areas. And that's actually what we wanted to explore further, to see how more companies can both follow your example and how you can do more to tap into the potential of our rural areas. And we can do that from numerous angles, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing how you are doing that and how your companies are doing that. So I'll first ask Valerio from Huawei to say a couple of words on how what are the challenges that are currently facing rural innovation, and also a little bit more about the pledge that you have done, the Huawei pledge. Thanks, Valerio.
Thomas, thanks a lot. It's true, usually EC officials are the one answering, not answering, but actually responding to the answer, so great to see you on the other chair. So Huawei was the first company to launch a pledge, then those colleagues followed, Enagas, Iberdrola, Abudu. I'm not saying this to brag, but we were the first one to launch this pledge and support REINA, Startup Ole. We had many meetings. Here, Emilio is there, raising his hand. We've been brainstorming a lot also with GRC, the Joint Research Center, with the cabinets, you included. So I'm glad to be here today to talk a bit about this pledge. Just about myself, 10 seconds, just to say that I work in Brussels. I'm EU Public Affairs Director at Huawei, and my job is pretty much to border, actually my job is to border people like Thomas, to make them understand that Huawei is an indispensable partner, and actually I really think that Huawei is an indispensable partner for Europe. So coming back to the pledge, so as I said, we were the first pledger, and when I talked to Rui as well, my colleague was here, we brainstormed with Emilio to find the best objective, because there are many when it comes to bringing innovation to rural areas, And we decided to go for, you know, the creation, the setting up of innovative co-working places, because this is something which is missing in villages, startup villages. So, and this is also the best way when you boost those co-working, innovative co-working spaces, you can attract more digital nomads, more startups, more SMEs. So this is what we did. So we launched this pledge. There were many candidacies, and actually nine candidacies were the best ones, the most successful ones. So there was one from Bulgaria, one from Croatia, one from Ireland, one from Portugal, one from Spain, of course, one from Slovenia, Denmark, and Austria. These are the 9 countries Huawei is covering when it comes to our pledge. So as I said, the first objective was really to create, set up these innovative co-working places and attract more startups there. But there is a second objective. And actually, Thomas, if you allow me, I would like to spend a few minutes on that, the second objective, which is the study. So there is a study ongoing, so it hasn't been completed yet. It's something that we are working on together with the 9 successful villages that I mentioned, but also the local action groups, the LAGs, and many other actors from the rural areas and remote areas. This study is still ongoing, as I said, but the main objective is to answer the following question: which are the challenges that startups are facing in rural areas? And actually, the good news is I'm here to, so I'm not working on this study, but I got some answers, preliminary answers, that I can share with you today, well-documented answers. So the first one, the first big challenge, because you asked about those challenges, Thomas, the big one is access to funding, okay? So I know the Commission is doing a lot. Actually, I think the Commission is doing a great job when it comes to providing more fundings for rural areas. There are many funds which are, you know, have been created by the Commission for this. But still, I think, Thomas, and this is what the study is saying, that approximately 40% of rural entrepreneurs are still facing difficulties in order to access funds, and therefore they are still relying on their money, their own money, pocket money. So this is a problem. They are also facing challenges when it comes to seducing, let's say, investors, accessing also traditional capital venture. Why? It's easy, because in rural areas you don't have the legal, managerial, let's say, in financial expertise that is needed to convince the investors to invest, actually. And this is something that Huawei really wanted to address with the pledge. That's why we awarded financial support to those 9 startup villages, winning startup villages. So as I said, there are 3 biggest challenges. First one is access to funding. There is a second one, which is access to talent. And I'm not talking about any talent. So when you think about talent in order to bring innovation to rural areas, I personally think about tech talent, deep tech talent. This is something which is still missing. Young tech, deep tech talents are still thinking that in rural areas, it's mainly about agriculture, farming, and tourism. And this is something we should break. We should make more, let's say, publicity about this in order to make them understand that this is not a reality. Huawei did so and is still doing so when it comes to attracting, seducing more tech and deep tech talents in rural areas. In our Connectivity for Rural Areas media campaign, we are trying to show, we're still doing that, young talents, that there are many possibilities, like creating For instance, creating e-commerce solutions. This is something that can be done here, and teleworking. There are many, many options. So this is something that I think authorities, public authorities at the regional, national, EU level should do, because talents are there. Maybe they have had enough of the city life, and I'm sure they can be seduced by those offers. And there is one thing also about talent that I would like to say. Huawei has been deploying lately solution for smart farming and precision farming. And we noticed when doing so in Austria, in Spain, in many EU countries, that when you try to modernize the agri-sector and you bring IoT, AI, sensors, you change the way we used to do agriculture, these tech solutions, they attract young talents and they come. And so what I'm trying to say is that one of the solutions is also the modernization of the agri-sector in order to attract more tech talents. And one last point, I will be very brief, because this is the core business of my company, Huawei. It's access to connectivity. Thomas, you know that very well. I think you were the one working on the long-term vision for rural areas by 2040. And when I went through this document last year, when it was published in June, I remember that one of the key challenges highlighted in this document is clearly connectivity. You cannot do a thing without connectivity. And I'm not going to go through the figures, but only 60% of EU rural households have high internet speed compared with 86% in urban areas. I mean, I have many scary figures here. This needs to be changed, and the good news is that this is being changed. Why? Because now member states, they realize that they need to do more, even if operators, because this is also the problem, operators don't want to invest in areas which are not, there is no return on investment, not as big as in the cities. But now member states are putting pressure on the operators and investing also from the public money, their money. And the good thing is that now fiber is being launched at every level in the rural areas. And I'm proud to say that Huawei is contributing to this. We have been deploying now in the past years our solution ERPON in Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Italy, Spain, and Malta. So I'm going to stop here, but I just wanted to say there is a light at the end of the tunnel for rural areas, and we are getting there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Valerio. And we can see that you haven't been on vacation. You're full working mode. And it's really a pleasure to watch your passion and energy that you bring to this. I think you point out to a number of very, very important issues, but the one that kind of struck me most perhaps was this access to talent. And I'm very happy that we have Vanessa with us, who I'm going to ask to say a couple of words about the untapped skills pools that actually exists outside our European cities, and this divide between basically highly skilled workers and those that are less educated, and how this divide is growing, and what we can do to basically learn and create work opportunities that are inclusive and available to all. So Vanessa, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. It's lovely to be here. So my name is Vanessa Vabodu, and we, over the last 4 or 5 years, have been working predominantly with building a technology that would allow us to map the data of villages, very much like what Madeira was talking about earlier on, and the amazing work they've done in having thousands of people register. Well, we help villages digitalize all their assets. So villages sometimes don't think they could be a live-work destination for digital nomads, and they can be, but the challenge that they have is a lot of the information available online it's just tourist information. And some surveys that are being conducted now as a result of the pandemic and people working either remotely or hybrid, 1 in 4 people are reconsidering where they're living. So this is an incredible opportunity to showcase and market villages as destinations for them to go to, but we need to connect the dots. So If you are a remote worker or a digital nomad and you're thinking, well, I'm going to relocate to a village, what are the key criteria and information that's going to make it attractive to you to make that decision? And it's going to be down to lifestyle. And I know we've talked about younger people, but let's face it, when you're in your 20s, you probably want the city and social life. But when it gets to that time of maybe buying that first home and you look at city prices, that's when you start looking beyond. We've partnered with Huawei, which has been incredible, to expand the initial village mapping that we did for a winning village in Spain, Berzosa, and now we're mapping villages across Bulgaria, Germany, and others in Spain. With this pilot, with the focus to demonstrate that there is a demand for people to change their location, but the basic infrastructure needs to be there. So as Valeria was saying, like, connectivity is everything, like it really is. But more and more villages are getting connected. So beyond that, what do villages need? Well, co-working spaces, which we've covered a lot on today. And there are so many buildings that could be converted into amazing co-working spaces. I've been told about a town in Germany, and they've taken a disused train station and they've converted it now into a co-working space. And they have a waiting list of digital nomads ready to move there. The second is really getting online. What are all the infrastructure and services available? A village doesn't necessarily need to have everything. So we're mapping villages that maybe have a population of a couple of hundred. I know someone asked earlier on, 15,000, does that really qualify for a village? Those villages are nearly towns, and it's amazing, they'll have everything. But villages that have a couple of hundred, if we can start connecting the villages together, because between them they'll have the services. So our mapping tool, essentially, if you get to visit the Huawei stand, we have a stand as well, but if you get to the Huawei stand, we have a video playing, and we only filmed that last week, and that's where we had an ambassador on the ground interviewing the co-workers, the remote workers, the co-working owner, older generations saying the impact to the town by losing people, and the fact that we can now reverse the brain drain. So Tama, to answer the question of what can corporates do? Well, I think Huawei have kind of demonstrated the power of getting behind the work that we're doing, because we can't do it without the corporate funding and sponsorship or the potential funding from Europe. There are nearly 40,000 villages across the European Union, and what excites me is that 70–80% of the landmass of Europe is rural. And we have people now looking to relocate. We also have millions of displaced citizens, millions now potentially of Ukrainians who are highly skilled. So this is the opportunity now to not only map the information, make it digital and very easy for people to connect, but also something that we've just finished the work on is a matching ecosystem. So people can now register their digital skills profile and get discovered. It should not matter anymore where you're located. I work with a lot of companies in America, and as they're looking to Europe, traditionally, when I used to talent map, we would talent map Barcelona or Berlin. That's gone now. They're now asking, where are the skills clusters? Where are the co-working spaces, and where's the 5G? So this is all information that we'll make available through Abodu and through the liveworkdestination.com website, and also inviting any corporates, if they want to get behind this initiative, we'd be delighted to talk to them. Thank you, Tama.
Thanks a lot, Vanessa. I'm going to turn now to Oscar to also get your perspective from Iberdrola on what are the opportunities that you are seeing in rural areas, and how do you think you are working, but also maybe how others can continue to work and expand in helping rural areas develop.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Thomas. Well, I'm Oscar. I work in the innovation team, specifically on the startup program of Iberdrola. I would say that Iberdrola is a company that have been working with villages for more than 100 years. We have assets distributed for all the the areas where we are. So we have a very we have been relevant in these areas. We create employment there. We are here in Spain about 9,000 people, 30% working in cities, but the 60% are working in small villages, maintenance, our networks, also our power plants. So it's something that we are really interested in collaborating with. And we are trying to push or improve these regions, these areas, for having more, you know, a standard of living better than they have before. We are creating new businesses and investing in companies that are developing this ecosystem. We have invested, for example, last year in a company called CO2 Revolutions. That is a company from a small village in Navarra that is reforestating in small villages for creating natural assets for the village, and also creating employees to maintain these trees. And this is something that we are being very active in the areas or countries where we are. And we are really open and interested in finding more opportunities that help us to improve our engagement with these regions. So we launch and use this REINA platform for you know, broadcast our activity on that specific regard. And we are really, really interested in having more and more villages coming to us and trying to propose how we can improve somehow the energy and sustainability in those areas, and if we can create businesses together for keeping the people on those areas, because it's I think the main pain point they have. They need to have some activity related with whatever that allows people to live there and having a work. Not only thinking about people that work remotely, but also people that can work close to their homes in those villages. We are developing, for example, also projects related with agrivoltaics, so trying to combine our energy activity with agriculture. This is an important area, and we think it's a huge potential for increased opportunities in rural areas. And these are some of the activities that we are developing from our company.
Thanks a lot, Oscar. It's interesting to see this. Basically, what you are saying is you are tapping into the core of what used to be rural areas, which is more the agriculture sector, but also expanding and going beyond and talking about energy sustainability and how businesses from those areas or startups from those areas can contribute to energy sustainability.
Yeah, I think renewables is a huge opportunity for us for that, because you have a lot of distributed assets. You have to create a value chain typically close to your power plants, and this is, I think, a very good tool for helping villages to have an economical activity for keeping the people there.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And I think I'm very happy that we've ended kind of on that note, because that's a very nice segue to talk to Estela about the sustainability and circular economy and the work that Enagas is doing in that sector, and also how do you see that being projected more in the rural areas?
Yeah, thank you. The same with Iberdrola, in Enagas, I say that we have not been struggling a lot finding opportunities in the rural areas, because our core business, which is transport natural gas, has been established and settled in rural areas. So we have 11,000 kilometers of pipelines that are across the whole Spain, and we connect supply with the demand. So every 50 kilometers, let's say, we have maintenance place where we are in charge of this, taking in control, make sure that everything goes correctly. So we have a strong presence in the rural areas. While guys, you were talking, I think that I'm going to propose and put something on the table to have a pledge, the four of us together, because you were mentioning Huawei, and I would do about village and the connectivity in village. And I propose you that also for energy assets, we have assets in isolated areas, so not even village. Imagine literally the middle of nowhere. So we have sensors. and sensors that need connections, and connections that need to be economically feasible. So maybe this is something that after the priority, which is connectivity, connections in the village, this is something that we can look together. So good to have with, with you guys. And also what we do with, within the innovation. So with sustainability, even more, we are increasing our presence in the rural areas. Because the opportunities that we look for, which is basically hydrogen and biogas, or we need tons of feedstock that it can easily find in the rural areas, animal feedstock, for instance, to produce biogas, or we need tons of space to produce hydrogen. So the majority of the ventures that we have invested in Enagas, and we have 16, they are located in rural areas. So we do not invest in Madrid and Barcelona startups. We invest in maybe Salamanca startups. So because their technology is here, they start here, they prove here the technology, and which help, what we do is to help them to scale. So yeah, I will see more opportunities thanks to the sustainability. We have seen an energy context where we have big supplies and big demands, and I think it will be changed. We will have a lot of potential points of supply from biogas or hydrogen that are located in rural areas and will be connected into the pipe. So it will change a little bit the context as we know today. And yeah, it will impact a lot in the creation of new employees in the energy sector. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Great to hear that you see also rural areas as potential producers of biogas and actually areas where energy will be created. And that will come, of course, with all sorts of other...
Basically, my deal flow comes from rural areas. So yeah.
That's interesting to see rural areas as a creator rather than a problem. But I think that this brings us to the end of our session. Very grateful to have had the experience to exchange with you. Also, grateful for the opportunities for, as you mentioned, Estela, now, for all of us to meet and reflect on how we can work better together. And maybe this is, to close, just an invitation to all of you watching to continue the discussion with us. If you have found any of the things that we have said interesting, please do reach out to us individually or collectively through Startup Ole to continue these discussions and to explore how we can contribute further to our rural areas. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.